All right.
All right, enjoying that great music. Enjoying that great music. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Soul Purpose Show. This is our second show on In Touch News Radio, heard all over the world. So, first of all, we would really just want to give all honor to God, who has brought us through another week alive and well and healthy. And the reason why we don't take that for granted is because this thing is serious.
Hmm.
And until it really kind of hits home, sometimes you don't really recognize just the magnitude of it. I just wanted to share with my friends, going to ask for your prayers. My one surviving uncle was tested positive for the virus last week. He was in a rehab facility when he was diagnosed, and prayerfully now he's in a hospital, so he's getting the care that he needs. So yeah, the virus has hit home, and we want to make sure that you guys all take this seriously and stay safe. Um, so anyway, listen, I was, obviously very nervous about the new format and kind of the way we are having to configure this, not in a very non-traditional way before last week, but I am super, super excited
Someone
that,
says they can't hear us. So I'm trying to see. I'm not listening. I'm listening to you as you talk, but someone says they can't hear us.
oh, okay. So we don't have audio. Did we not join with the audio, computer audio?
Nope, we're joined with the audio.
Huh.
Audio. Okay,
All right.
so not sure. You said the
So,
volume is low.
oh,
The volume is
the
low.
volume might be low.
So maybe we just need to. Can y'all hear us now? Can y'all hear us now? I'm happy that we have this stream to be able to see
See folks
people's
are watching.
comments, right?
And we appreciate y'all. We really, really do. For those of you who are watching the live stream and giving us feedback, we really, really appreciate it. We've got a great show lined up. This is our first best of best and worst of show, so we're really super excited about it. And we'll do whatever we can on our end to kind of work through some of the technical issues. I was in the middle of making a point about the technical issues, actually.
Sorry. All
It's
right.
okay. No, it's fine. That we were, a little uncomfortable, I think is probably a better reason, but a better way of characterizing it. But we had close to 800 views
Yeah.
for our debut show on In Touch News. We really, really are excited about this new platform. And the fact that you guys actually responded to the tune of close to 800. We were one of the most watched live feeds on In Touch News Radio last weekend. So we're extremely, extremely grateful and thankful for all of you for tuning in. So we'll continue to work on the volume. We'll continue to work on some of our technical issues. Um, but we want to go ahead and get right into what's today's show all about.
So today we have decided that each and every last Saturday, since we do this on Saturdays, each and every Saturday, well, not each and every Saturday, the last Saturday of each and every month, we're going to do the best and worst of the month. And so we're going to kind of like a greatest hits or not so greatest hits, depending upon how you look at it. And because these have been such crazy times and we're dealing with some unprecedented things, we thought that we just kind of do a recap of the month of April, and we'll do that each and every month. So the last Saturday of every month will be the best and worst. So
All right.
that was my idea.
And with that, let's jump right into
Yeah,
it.
go ahead.
All right. Hey, our first category for best and worst for the month of April is going to be entertainment. Um, we talked a little bit last week about how we have found all of these creative ways to entertain ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And how cool it is on some levels. We talked about D Nice and Club Quarantine and all the other DJs and entertainers who have really fought so hard to continue to stay relevant and stay engaged with their fans, and to keep us engaged and to share their talents with the world. I mean, that's what these folks do for a living. So keeping us entertained is definitely one of the best things about the last couple of months. And this whole versus thing
Yes.
was really, really, really cool. Really
Yeah,
cool.
it was probably the best thing in April. If I was to, in terms of the entertainment in a particular category, if I was to list top 10 in the entertainment space, that would probably be close to my number one.
And it continues. The battles continue. The Instagram battles continue. I wish there was a better, cleaner platform than just Instagram Live to do this. we're getting robbed of some of the studio quality of what, you know, kind of the best of our entertainers have to offer. But they're saying, I understand there's another one coming up either today or tomorrow. John P. Key
and Hezekiah Walker. I am, and as a singer, a person who sings and loves John P. Key and Hezekiah Walker, I am super excited about that verses. So
absolutely.
So one of my bets for April is, because we're homeschooling our son, trying to balance his work and teaching. We talked a little bit about that last week, and I did an SOS to the teachers and educators out there. But one of the best things for me this month was that you have some folks who are reading stories to kids. So like Michelle Obama, we missed it this Monday, but every Monday, Michelle Obama via PBS is reading stories to children. And I think the age group, it may probably pre-K to first grade probably is the age group. And then I read on social media that LeVar Burton from Reading Rainbow, shout out to Reading Rainbow, any Reading Rainbow babies out there, will also be doing the same thing. And I'm not exactly sure when his will be. I'll have to remember to figure that out and post it on our Soul Purpose show page. But he's reading as well. And then I know one of our friends, Keith Jacobs, who is an educator and a huge proponent of choice, did a read along.
And my fraternity brother.
And your fraternity brother did a read along, I think yesterday or the day before. So to me, that's the best. I think this is crazy times. Parents who are working are trying to balance everything, and to have the ability to not, you don't want to put your kid in front of the TV all day or in front of electronic devices. And sometimes that just kind of happens because life. But the fact that you can direct them to someone actually reading a book to them, to me, is probably one of the best things that happened in April.
Absolutely. Hey, and another best is, we talked about some of the alternative ways that we're entertaining. We're also finding alternative ways to utilize technology in ways that, it's not new technology, but it's in ways that maybe we hadn't thought about before. Look at the Zoom platform. This is not a commercial for Zoom, but here's the reality. They've provided a way for us to stay connected during a really, really, really tough time.
Yeah.
And it's not just for those of us who are adults, and it's not just for those of adults like yourself who's extroverted, who really, 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 really likes talking to people all the time. But
I've been managing to keep my behind home on a regular,
yes,
consistent basis, despite the fact that I'm an extrovert.
Yes, and Zoom is one of the reasons, or one of the ways that's been facilitated. But it's also served even the kids. I mean, we've had everything from play dates, virtual, and birthday parties for kids. We actually attended a virtual birthday party for one of my friends as well.
Yeah, we did.
So I think Zoom is great. Look forward to continuing to use. I don't think it'll be our new normal necessarily. I think at some point we're going to go through a period where we're just all so happy to be back, able to congregate. But certainly, hopefully, it'll keep us connected on some regular basis.
I disagree just a little bit with that, because there's no vaccine yet, and there won't be a vaccine probably until next year. I think that Zoom and other platforms like that are with respect to employers, right? So we're just going to keep that space. Yes. It's going to employers and companies are going to have to reassess how they conduct team meetings, because if there's no vaccine and folks are still spreading the virus, wearing masks is probably going to be a new normal, and then figuring out how you extend social distance, because eventually we will reopen and people will start going back to work, but kind of looking at telecommuting options. So all those employers have said that these positions weren't telecommuting capable. We found out that that's not, it's not necessarily true. There are ways that you can do it, but I think companies are going to have to reevaluate that. And so I said all that to say that Zoom and other platforms like that, they're going to probably become part of the norm. So like example, I'm an attorney, and there are seminars that court reporters, are utilizing to help us take depositions remotely. Hearings, courts are starting to kind of do remote virtual hearings, and using these various platforms. So it probably won't be the continued way to do it in terms of social interaction with your friends, but in terms of companies and businesses, I think this is probably going to be a part of how they're operating and conducting business going forward. It's just my view, at least until there's a vaccine.
Of course, and it's a segue too, because you talk about platforms. It's also actually allowed for additional newer platforms to become even more prominent, like,
right?
Like Twitter,
yeah.
for example.
So speaking of Black Twitter, so this is the best, and one of my sorority sisters forwarded it to me this morning or tagged me in it on Facebook. So y'all know Black Twitter is continually undefeated, and if y'all don't know what Black Twitter is, because there may be some folks on our watching the show that don't know what Black Twitter is. So you go to Twitter, and if you hashtag Black Twitter, there'll be, Black folks find entertainment in the most obscure things, right? So there's this guy, his name is Chillin' on Top is his Twitter handle, right? And so what he did was he did tweets of, what he did was he started tweeting, like, if you were to do a book or an essay or a movie, like the title of a movie or the title of a book, of things that folks are going through during this pandemic, right? So I have to find it because it's pretty funny. So one of the thing he started with, y'all excuse me, I got to go to my pictures. The thing he started with was "Wipe Me Down: A Cultural Guide to Cleanliness During COVID-19." So yeah, it's at Chillin' on Top, and y'all go, it will give you your complete life. So another one was back, give me 50 feet. In the age of social distancing, is 6 feet really enough? Right. So another one that was really funny to me.
Black folks have always been telling, give me my space.
Right. And we talked about that last week. Yeah. So another one was, this one was really funny. No scrubs, addressing the lack of protective equipment for essential workers. So this was so just go to Twitter, and the guy is at Chillin' on Top, and just follow that stream. It is hilarious, and I just found out about it this morning, so probably, again, top 10, absolutely top 10 on my list.
One of the things we have prioritized is our subscriptions to whichever entertainment avenues we use, like Netflix, or whatever entertainment, like Spotify. Like, these things are essential for us because it keeps us engaged without having to go out and spend money at, in entertainment places and go to concerts and festivals and those kind of things. So Netflix is obviously been a huge one. Isn't that where that silly Tiger King show on Netflix?
Yes.
We ain't talking about that.
Yes, we talked about Tiger King last week, which is still a fabulous show. I got a couple of Tiger King Converse over. You still have not. Did you watch the whole thing?
I don't need to watch the whole thing. I watched enough of it to know that I'm not watching it.
Well, all I know is that Carol Baskin, apparently they're investigating the death of her husband. So
because of Tiger King.
Well, I don't know, but because of Tiger King, the sheriff in our county is doing an investigation to see how her husband really died. So one of the shows, and I have not seen it yet, that people keep talking about on Netflix, which has been really hot this month, is it may not just be this month, it may just be this month for me, is Little Fires Everywhere. My bonus daughter, our oldest, was watching it and raved about it. And so I know there's a book. It's based off of a book. I haven't read the book either, but she talked about how I really should see it. And I've been looking at my Facebook and my Twitter feed, and a lot of people are talking about Little Fires Everywhere. So I'm not exactly sure what it's about, but it's Saturday. It's rainy outside. We can't go anywhere anyway. So when this is over, I will be going downstairs to plop in front of the television and watch Little Fires Everywhere.
You plopped in front of the television yesterday and was there all day long.
Because another hit in April, and this may have debuted before April, but I just saw it this month. Y'all, Marlon Wayans, who is a part of the huge Wayans family, right? He's the baby. When he was back, he had a show on CW with his brother long time ago. My sister loved the show. I didn't like it. I thought Marlon was real corny because he's on 100 all the time. He is like excited and full of energy all the time. So I never really thought he was funny, but my sister was watching it and she said, "Oh my gosh, you've got to watch Marlon." Y'all, I have never, and I don't know if it's just because everything is more funny now because I'm locked in, I can't see anybody. But that show, and listen, he's not paying us to do it. These are just our top best and worst for April. Marlon's show is hilarious. I literally laugh out loud funny. and you were up here yesterday preparing for the show. I was in front of the television watching like the last 3 or 4 episodes. My child was talking to me, asking about pizza. I didn't hear what he said.
We had a fire in the house. Smoke alarms going off. It was horrible.
Listen, Marlon is a funny show. Now, Keith doesn't agree with the premise of the show because he doesn't think it's realistic.
The premise is
funny.
Marlon and his ex-wife are in the house together all the time, even though he doesn't live there. He's there all the time, and they are supposed to be trying to work on getting along for the sake of the kids, and they still kind of feel some way about each other, and you can kind of see that as well. The premise of the show is unrealistic. Nobody like the ex-wife like that. Brothers don't like the ex-wife like that.
Well, I me and my ex-husband don't talk anymore, but I still like my ex. I don't know if he likes me, but I still like my ex-husband.
And he can't come live in our house either.
But he doesn't live in the house. You didn't even see the movie. Whatever. Anyway, so, and I got a correction. Little Fires is on Hulu, not Netflix. So I apologize for that. But anyway, Marlon is super funny. So I highly recommend it. Keith thinks the premise is stupid, and you watched a couple shows and you watched a couple of shows and laughed.
It has its moments. It's
funny.
It's just a little over the top for me. Let's get into the worst. The worst things with respect to entertainment over the course of the last month is by far Babyface versus Teddy Riley. Y'all dragged Teddy Riley so bad on the internet. They was on fire. That poor man wrote millions and millions, or I should say, sold millions and millions of records and wrote all of these hits, controlled the charts for like a whole decade with all of his hits, and couldn't figure out how to record.
And that is why he got dragged or drugged or whatever the right word is. Listen. This is the thing. So if you had seen, so somebody on Twitter, I don't know who, maybe Yamiche Alcindor, but somebody talked about the fact that Teddy Riley and Babyface trying to figure Instagram out with like 2 old men trying to figure out some, just technology in general, right? So, and then Teddy Riley got a bunch of kids. So there's no child that you have.
You gotta rely on the millennials.
No millennial that you have that can help you, guide you through that process. So I was looking forward to it. Last Saturday is when it was supposed to happen, and it started off wrong. So if you have seen Versus before, so my bonus daughter, our oldest, said that I think Versus that we watched upstairs was T-Pain and Little John, right? It won a whole lot of hoopla. There was no, it was just them, their computer, their iPad or whatever, and their music, right? Just kind of, I guess they pre-recorded it in kind of how in the chronology they wanted to play it in, right? Sequence they wanted to play the music in. You tune in to Teddy Riley and Babyface last Saturday. Teddy Riley got a background dancer. He has, I don't know who's a hype man, but he was a background dancer. He had a drummer. He had his keyboard. He had multiple microphones. It was like he was doing a full out concert. And so I tuned in. I was like, what in the heck is he doing? And then Babyface took a minute for him to come on. And then once
he's older now. He's older than me.
He's 60 something.
Yes.
And so
he don't move as fast.
Right. Well, it took him a minute to get on, but whatever. So then when he gets on, y'all watched it, so I don't need to recap the whole thing. But there was a whole echo thing. And so my point was, Teddy Riley makes too much money, presumably. But at the end, even if he doesn't still make money now, there's a whole like millions of dollars worth of equipment.
Oh, absolutely.
Within his house.
And you can
figure that out.
You can do it all by social distancing. This is the reason why it's one of the worst for me is I'm kind of an audio snob. You can still hire people and still be social distancing, hire people to come
which
to your
he was
house,
not doing.
Go into your studio, your home studio, and figure everything out, get everything set up just so that, when you get ready to go live, everything works perfectly if you are Teddy Riley.
Right.
So I just felt like, for the hundreds of thousands of fans who tuned in, and for the hundreds of thousands of fans and millions of fans that they have around the world. Oh gosh, it was
horrible. It was terrible. And I actually felt kind of bad for them. Babyface was irritated.
Yeah.
But I on Saturday night, and so he just was like, okay, let's just stop. Because I think the dude came back on on Teddy's side because they were trying to figure out the technical difficulties with the echo or something else happened. And his guy was like, come back in 30. I was like, yo, it's 10:30. I am not tuning back in at 11 o'clock. I'm asleep. I'm out. So Babyface had the same position. And then I think they redid it Monday night, which was much better. And shout out to Babyface, who really probably should be the best in this particular category.
Babyface won the.
He won hands down,
Yeah.
and he is a master shade master.
Yes, he is.
He was doing shade, direct and indirect, undercover, all of that at Teddy Riley through a good portion of the verses. So that one was like a best and worst of April for entertainment.
Now, was Muppet Babies one of the best?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so listen, y'all. We have who we love. We have an almost 5-year-old son. And y'all, people who are parents of little people, they get fixated on certain shows and they watch them over and over and over and over and over again. We both are tired of Muppet Babies. Our son is watching Muppet Babies probably 20 each episode on Netflix at least 20 times, like to the point where he knows exactly where they are in sequence, like the one with Halloween. He knows exactly where they are in sequence, can tell you like it's 5 or 6 over. He probably knows the lines of the show. So as much I love Muppet Babies growing up, if I don't see Muppet Babies again in life, I will be okay. I will be okay. He's made us not like it. Literally, he's watched it every day, and will watch. And then if you don't start it at the right place, you have to start it from the beginning. So yeah, Muppet Babies is on my worst for April. No shade, no shade to Disney and Jim Henson's folks, but I'm over Muppet Babies.
Those are our best and worst for entertainment over the course of the past month. What's going to take us into break, though, is we're going to talk a little bit about politics, which is our next category. So for under the term politics, I mean, politics is a wide-ranging subject, and we're not going to be a political show necessarily until we need to be. But we have to give our best shout out to Andrew Cuomo and the ability to be able to turn your television on and see a leader,
an adult
a leader of a big state, one of the most important states in the country, and how he handles the way he communicates to his constituents, and subsequently the way he has communicated to the rest of the country. And so it has given a lot of people a lot of confidence in how a leader could manage.
Yes.
And obviously been a sharp contrast to what some people think. But we just appreciate the way as an elected official, he comes across as if he really does feel for his all of his constituents in the state of New York. So I think he gets my best.
I think so too. And then I think also with his PowerPoints, and he really is kind of assisting the rest of the nation, being a steady hand and calm in the midst of this craziness, because we don't have an adult at the national level being able to communicate with us. Yeah. So one of my best, 2 sisters, 2 Black women, made my best list. The first one is London Breed, who's the mayor of San Francisco. And then that mayor named Keisha Lance Bottoms out of Atlanta. Those are 2 in terms of politics.
Did she go to?
She's a Rattler.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. She's a Rattler. Florida A&M University. So those 2 made my best. Mayor Breed, more specifically, I'm gonna talk about Keisha later in the show, but those 2 women made my best list in the political arena. But Mayor Breed, to me, just is top notch. She and I are about the same age. She's a mayor of a major city in San Francisco, but she was one of the first local officials that said because she's in California, and so you have a lot of folks coming in from the Pacific area and Asia coming over into her state and into her city specifically, and she saw what was happening in China, and she shut San Francisco down. I mean, just shut it down, right? Shut it down. And that was in February. And then I was reading this article in The Atlantic talking about how, because of her actions and her shutting it down, how San Francisco and the broader Bay Area are the national model, right? Of how early and aggressive action can prevent the explosive rise in cases in your cities. Because San Francisco, I don't know if you've been to San Francisco before. No. San Francisco is a beautiful city, right? Boulay was there a couple years ago, and I went out for Boulay. And San Francisco is a beautiful city. It's cold in the summer, which I don't understand, but it's a beautiful city with a lot of people. So it's super concentrated with folks. And so, but because of her early and aggressive actions, there wasn't any overwhelming, the hospitals weren't overwhelmed like in New York. The case count of was 857 as of April 10th. 857 people. Now, I'm not sure. New York City definitely has the largest number of people in the country, but San Francisco is no slouch. When San Francisco and Oakland, the Bay Area, but just the case count in San Francisco was 857 as of April 10th, with only 13 recorded deaths, right? When you compare it to other comparable cities like New Orleans, Detroit, Boston, and Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. And because of her aggressive actions, just shutting everything down, which she was criticized for, but the curve is low and it's flattening, and patients aren't flooding into the emergency room. So for me in the political arena, London Breed, and again, she shut it down in February, but this article in terms of the results of her decisive action, that's April. So shoot, she wins February, March, and April as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I think that's phenomenal.
Shout out to Mayor Breed and Mayor Bottoms. And we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge all of you who are watching us live, our friends, our listeners, our followers, our supporters. Nina, we see you. Longtime friend. We go a long way back. We appreciate your support. Dee Wilkes, we see you. Dee, thank you for tuning in. Michael Road Dog Reed, if you need tickets to events when we get back going, check out my man Michael. Anya, we appreciate you. We love you. Let's see.
Erica's on here.
EK,
Teresa,
we appreciate you. Hey Teresa, how you doing?
My Uncle John is on here.
Hey Uncle John, what's going on? All right. Do we have music yet?
I don't think we have music. Keep going.
My man Eddie. If you need a house and you're in the Riverview area, especially, check out my man Eddie Wright. With I believe he's with Keller Williams. He is, and he just had a birthday. So shout out Eddie. Happy belated birthday to you, man. I saw you out on your boat having a good time. I was jealous. Still waiting on my invite, but that's not what this show is about. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about y'all. And who else?
Let's see. We have a lot of people on here.
Jacobs, we appreciate you, Keith. All right, PJ, our cousin. Keisha, all the way from Mobile, Alabama, is watching this. Right. Okay. And so for all of you, we really appreciate you tuning in. We come back from the break. We're going to go into sports. The topic of sports, the NFL draft was this week, and some of y'all are going to be shocked and surprised at some of my wife's responses to this happening during.
Square, hoping that I would get you there, but to my dismay and no avail, I had to set sail. When I'm trying to get downtown, chasing my love that's way across town, from place to place, gotta be in this party space. Can't wait to see her face. Wherever we go, we are about to bring on the positive vibes.
Hi, this is Dale Day. Join me every Monday at 7 p.m. for Jazz at Miss Connie's house, bringing you the smoothest jazz and the coolest guests right here on In Touch Radio. This brutal weather that we experience every year in Florida leaves hundreds of residents needing repairs to their property. If your home has been damaged or needs remodeling, leave it to the professionals. Call Reeves Building, Plumbing, and Roofing at 813-238-6197. That's 813-238-6197. Reeves Building, Plumbing, and Roofing have been serving the community for 43 years. Reeves Building, Plumbing, and Roofing is a proud sponsor of Jazz at Miss Connie's house.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here for you.
Wherever we go, we are going to bring on the positive vibe. Wherever we go, we are gonna do what makes us feel right.
Thank you for coming back to the Soul Purpose Show. Listen, we're going to bring on a positive vibe, but I think we were in the middle of talking about our best and worst for politics over the course of the last month. And certainly, you know, one of the worst, and we talked about one of the best, obviously, we feel like, you know, Governor Cuomo, Mayor's Breed and Mayor Bobs from Atlanta, from the way they are handling and the way they have handled this crisis. Certainly one of the worst has to be the way Congress has acted. You know, Congress approved trillions, literally trillions of dollars of aid, of economic aid for the country, both to supplement unemployment and for direct stimulus checks to individuals. And I think, you know, most people agree. I don't even know anyone who has already kind of started to receive the money.
Stimulus check? I don't either.
I mean, and I'm sure people have. But that thing has been such a debacle and such an embarrassment for us. I mean, gosh, we pray that something like this only happens every generation or so.
Yeah.
Because it's been proven that we just can't get that part, we can't get that part right.
No.
A lot of people suffering as a result.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's what happens when you don't have adults at the table. I'm thankful for Nancy Pelosi and kind of standing her ground on certain things. I don't know anybody that's received their stimulus check. I know I was listening actually to the previous show with Clint, Straight Down the Middle, and there was an immigration attorney on, and she was talking about one of the stipulations associated with a stimulus check is if you were an American citizen and if you filed jointly with a spouse who is an immigrant, then you won't get your stimulus check. Correct. That was my understanding. I could have misunderstood that, but that was my understanding. Which but again, ineligible. Correct, which is crazy. So, anything that's slow, dealing with anything that's coming from the federal government under this administration doesn't shock me. So it doesn't shock me that they are, when you don't adequately staff agencies, you still have acting secretaries over certain agencies. So when you don't adequately staff certain agencies, then you're bound to have some issues going forward. So,
and I'm not a big government person. I do believe that there's a lot of waste in government. So I don't believe in, just because a position is open, you have to fill it. I don't necessarily believe that either, but I think you have to be smart about being prepared. Because at the end of the day, government services are there just for situations like this. And if you haven't adequately prepared, and you haven't adequately staffed, and then even worse is when you make certain decisions that are not clearly not the best interest of all of our citizens. Mm-hmm. I think about what is happening for our Florida unemployment system here. Oh gosh, it's been just a complete disaster, and that is thanks almost entirely to our former governor. When he was governor, we spent $77 million on a new unemployment system for the Department of Economic Opportunity, and another $119 million trying to improve the system. and the state audit has found 17 problems, including data error problems and poor communications, and there's system capacity issues. I mean, so in the state of Florida alone, there are just countless people who are trying to apply and can't even apply because the system won't accommodate. Yep. And it's really, really, really sad. That's probably for those. I mean, you're talking about something that hits home. I mean, for those of us here in Florida, and especially for those of us who are out of work, it almost gives you this kind of hopeless feeling, like that there's money out there that you can't even access because you're being intentionally pushed out. Well, I mean, I think a part of it is the system is just. When I was reading an article, they did an audit of the unemployment system in the state of Florida, and
their paperwork issues. It's really just it's a system issue in terms of you're getting blocked out of system. You can't really apply and submit your information. So it's just, but you know, and people are like Rick Scott, and he's up in DC. And then I've read some article where it says that they don't deserve the money because they're making more money off unemployment or something ridiculous that he said. So I mean, it's an unfortunate situation. I hope Ken Lawson, who is over the Department of Economic Opportunity, figures out a way to kind of get the problem solved, because there are 422 people or more is last, but they counted it was 422,000 people, excuse me, who applied for unemployment in the state of Florida that haven't received their check. So I hope someone on here, Anya said she has gotten her stimulus check.
Yeah,
So,
I think our producers, I think, have received theirs as well. I mean, it's happening. It is flowing. I think it was delayed unnecessarily. I think a lot of people have compared what we've done here in this country to what some of the other countries have done. I mean, you know, more socialized. And this is not some kind of a plug for moving to socialism, but there are some sophisticated societies who have kind of figured this thing out better than us. And it really does kind of make you feel like, hey, we're supposed to be the biggest, the best, and the brightest. And that's not what we've seen. Is the Democratic candidate for president, is he going to select a Black female for his running mate?
So that y'all know this is my worst. If y'all follow my personal Facebook page, y'all know how I feel about that. So I put this as one of my worst for April, right? So there was an article that came out, I think via News One Now's website, that said, so obviously it's leaning, it's kind of a slanted article, about Vice President Biden not being committed to selecting an African-American woman as vice president. I already know a lot of people do not agree with my position, and that is fine. It's whatever. But I took offense to it. And we can have a whole show on this at a later date.
We might.
But I put that as the worst. Again, he hasn't made his decision. I think there was an article that said he plans to make his decision May 1st. But I took issue with that because if you all recall, prior to the South Carolina primary, Joe Biden was all but written off, right? He was not even, I mean, he wasn't getting any money. The media had written him off because he had this huge, you know, boost at the very beginning, and then this whole complete lack of support was kind of dwindling. He was making his typical gaffes on the debate stage. People questioning whether or not he was mentally, you know, his mental capacity to hold the position. I don't agree with that, but people were making that argument. And so heading into South Carolina primary, he kept saying, just give me South Carolina, give me South Carolina. And godsend of Representative Clyburn came in and galvanized the troops in South Carolina to give him handedly the South Carolina primary. Now, if you look at I haven't looked at the numbers, but I had a conversation with someone who's close to Biden's campaign that indicated that Black women, by and large, were the reason that Joe Biden won that South Carolina primary. Now, I've done the stats in terms of Black women's consistency in voting. 90% of the time, we are the most consistent voters across this country. 90% of the time, Black women are going to vote. And frankly, 90% of the time, Black women vote Democratic, right? Because we're pragmatic in our thought process about who's going to be best suited to assist us in our communities, right? So we're registering folks to vote. I mean, Alabama, Black women in Alabama, the reason Doug Jones is in the Senate now. So I took offense to the fact that he was, and I get it from a strategic point, it doesn't make sense to say, yes, I'm gonna choose a Black woman. And then people were saying, well, he said he'd choose a African-American woman, Supreme Court justice, which is fine, but that's a given to me, because this is having us a Black woman as a Supreme Court justice is something that we should have had a long time ago, right? So that doesn't move me. And it's something that we should have had. It's cool. I think, you know, there are plenty of African-American women that are very eligible to be on the Supreme Court justice, but you're assuming that if Biden wins, that he also wins the Senate and he's able to get a Black woman confirmed, right? So those are a lot of assumptions. Yeah. He has no control over the Supreme Court justice nomination unless he also wins the Senate. Correct. What he does have control over is putting a Black woman on his ticket. And my only point is, because he hasn't made his decision or hasn't made his decision public, if that's what we want as Black women, then we have to demand that. There was an article about a petition that Black women signed, putting it out to Joe Biden about you need to select a Black woman as your vice presidential running mate. And I don't disagree with that. I mean, you know, I know y'all know my position. I'm angry right now and irritated. But you know, that is what it is. That particular article was the worst. It will remain to be seen whether or not he is on my worst list for May.
Well, you know, obviously the worst was handed to us this week. Just, you know, the way our president has handled his news briefings, I think has been, to say unprecedented wouldn't even, you know, give it the right amount of justice. But the way he's, you know, treated reporters and almost, you know, forgetting that there's other people out here just, you know, watching, other people around the world that are watching, you know, and listening to his words, and the way he's handled those is just mind-boggling. So, but I think we all kind of agree that the award for the worst kind of political anything to happen, really almost in the last 3 years, is him suggesting that we inject disinfectant into people to kill the virus. Somebody help me. Somebody help me.
Okay, so I almost considered putting that on my best part for April, just because it's just so stupid. That it was hilarious. I literally was on the edge of my bed with my mouth open, like, did this dude really just say? And I told Keith, I said, someone in the midst of his supporters is going to get a cap full of bleach and drink it, thinking this is gonna kill the virus internally. It is absolutely insane. And so there was an article that came out afterwards that said that he was using sarcasm. Nah, dog, you meant that. You meant that. And I felt bad, almost bad, for the doctor that was there and the other guy that's I don't know if he's acting director or actually director of Health and Human Services. I almost felt bad for them, because when they were he was asking them questions, and the look on their face was like,
what is he talking about?
Kind of like, you remember Forrest Gump when Jenny said, "Dear Lord, make me a bird so I can fly far away from here." She looked like Jenny. In the press conference. It was so, I felt bad for her, but not so much because you could have said no to, there's no, listen, unless Jesus himself came down, if I was Republican and if I was a super right conservative Trump supporting Republican, it would take Jesus himself to come down and tell me face to face, you should take that job in Trump's administration. There's no way in the world. There's no way. So
go ahead
anyway.
Go ahead and kill your career. All right, so I alluded to this before our break. I said that our next topic was going to be sports. And there's been no sports, or there's been no organized sports. There's been no team sports. Almost like no sports, because people gather for sporting events. So we don't have a whole lot in the best category. I mean, if anything, we have some entertainment. And what was one of the most entertaining things I have seen was I just call it "Get Off My Son's Lap" when the camera's rolling.
So if y'all saw the draft, the NFL draft, which was kind of weird. So that's
still going on.
It's still going on. So that's kind of it's on the worst categories. I'm kind of jumping the gun too, only because it's just weird. It's kind of anticlimactic. I love football, so we usually watch at least the first round, particularly because Tampa Bay has been so terrible for the last few years that they're normally like one of the first 10 picks. So we watched, and I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, being from South Florida, and they always are terrible. So we typically watch, but I actually forgot it was coming on and didn't watch it until people started showing these clips. So there were two incidents. The first one was, I don't remember the guy, he's from Georgia. I don't remember his name, but his girlfriend, who was of a different hue, and we have another podcast previously that we did that talks all about interracial dating and interracial relationships. Y'all can tune in to get my viewpoint. But there was a young lady, the little boy's girlfriend, was sitting on his lap in his mom's house. So y'all already know how I felt being the mama of a son. And then he got the call that he had been drafted. He's a little boy, guy from Georgia. And all you saw, you didn't see his mama face. All you saw was his mama put her hand underneath that, look like probably like, you know how back in your mom in church, if you was acting up, would kind of do that pinch and that flap right there, reach right underneath and try to lift the girl, and the girl tried to snatch away.
Because she was holding on to her man.
No, boo. She said, little girl, you better get up. You better get up. She got up and she moved. And then I saw the mama's hands moving or whatever. That brought me so much joy. Listen,
It was funny.
I
think it had more to do with the fact that they were on national TV, and this is his moment. This is his big moment. And you just kind of the girlfriend, like really, like
that. And on top of
and
that,
you sitting on his lap.
She's on his lap in my house.
In my house, it's just not a good look. So,
Yeah.
but it was really, 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 really funny. And then you do have some other best as well.
So the other best for me with respect to the NFL draft was, and I remember his name is CC, I think. He's a wide receiver. I don't remember who he got drafted by, but y'all seen it. He's sitting on the couch. He has a phone in one hand, and he has his phone in his lap, and the phone rings, right? So it's CC, his mama, and his girlfriend on this side. And his phone in his lap rings, and his girlfriend, who was not, she needed more clothes on, but that, again, I'm a mama of a son. She needed more clothes on. She was my son's girlfriend. But reached into his lap and grabbed the phone, and then it had a vice grip on the, whoops, I hit the microphone. Did a vice grip on the phone, and then he got the best. That's the best or worst. He had one phone in one hand, and he grabbed that other phone when she was trying to take it, and he was like, no, and he took it back. And so the little girl,
crazy.
Oh my gosh, the young lady was, so Jamel Hill on her Twitter was like, he's a real MVP or something. Look, listen, and my cousin Preston had a whole conversation yesterday on his Facebook page about the situation, and was saying, he switched from a wide receiver to a DB and intercepted the phone.
Look, don't go through my phone. Don't go through my phone.
Listen, I've never, this has always been and I can't say whether it's ever been done to me, but I have never, in my, however long I've been dating, in serious relationships, I have never gone in my partner's phone, ever. I don't check it. I don't check your emails. I don't check the phone. I don't. Because my mom, you search, you find stuff that you don't want to find. And even if it's not there, you'll presume that something that's really just innocent is something different. So if I have to go in his phone, we don't need to be married. Because at the end of the day, I'm gonna find out anyway. If you make a decision that you're gonna have an inappropriate conversation with someone outside of your marriage or relationship, you're going to get discovered. Because I love y'all, but y'all may not that bright. You're gonna do something. You're gonna do something. Not in this space. Y'all don't see stuff. Y'all don't see. We have a whole nother podcast about that one. Y'all don't see certain things.
Y'all have a certain intuition.
Yeah. So with intuition is real. But so I've never checked a phone. So for me, I automatically in that situation, I went to the brother because I was like, yeah, get your phone, boo. And then I knew the girl wasn't, even let's assume, because I think my sister was like, it's clear that she's probably checked the phone before.
That wasn't a good time.
That wasn't a good time. But secondly, based on her expression, she had the poop face for the remainder of the night. She was bothered by it.
So that was humorous.
It was humorous.
But then there's also Notre Dame hired a women's basketball coach.
So that was humorous.
Yes.
So the other best for me in sports is I really love women's basketball, and I love women's collegiate basketball. Actually went to when the Final Four was in Tampa a couple years ago, and the national championship was here for 2 years. I went to both years. But Notre Dame, shout out to the Irish, whose women's basketball team is phenomenal. Their previous coach, Muffet McGraw, who's been there for a long time, she's retiring, and they just hired a new coach, and her name is, I hope I get her name right, Naomi Ivy. Mm-hmm. If I mispronounce her name, there's some Irish folks,
sure.
some Notre Dame people that will correct me. But she's a former Notre Dame player. She led the Irish when she was playing the national championship, and she is a sister. So good job, Notre Dame. Notre Dame women's basketball has, I'm going to assume it's the first has an African American coach. I'm super excited. The girls can't play right now, but I am looking forward, fingers crossed, to following Irish basketball, women's basketball next season with her at the helm. And I'm not sure how many Black women coaches there are in the NCAA basketball space. We have Dawn Staley at South Carolina. UVA's coach is Tina Thompson, who used to play for the WNBA. Vivian Stringer at Rutgers, and I'm not sure what the numbers are, but I know in terms of diversity levels, there's a bunch of collegiate coaches out there for women's basketball, and not enough sisters. So shout out to Notre Dame, Irish women's basketball. Y'all made our best.
Positive things are happening. Continue shout out to, hey, Jamal, what's going on, Fred? I see you. Yeah, Last Dance. We're probably going to get into Last Dance next month. It was just the opening episodes were amongst the best for the month of April. We'll see as that series continues. But we appreciate you tuning in and supporting us. Our good friend B. Mitra, what's going on, B? Another birthday girl, had a birthday this week.
Her twins, Mitra, happy birthday, happy birthday.
Yep, happy birthday. Christina, all the way tuning in all the way from Maryland. All the way from.
Hey, Jamal Gibson, my fellow FAMU Rattler. He's on here. Chiming in from Atlanta. Thanks for supporting.
All right.
Travis, what's going on?
All right.
I do have a worst for. I kind of already touched on the worst, but the other worst for we have a personal. Well, I think it's the worst. We'll talk about the Bucks.
Okay.
So my worst is I am not a Tom Brady fan.
Oh.
Not a Tom Brady fan. We don't have that much time. We're gonna do an after show too, so y'all can kind of tune into that. So, but one of my worst, we'll talk about Tom Brady in the after show, but one of my worst was for the NFL draft. What I did notice, and there's a lot of people talking about this, you know how they show the clips when the people are, before they're about to get drafted or whatever, they talk about the names and the popular folks or the guys that have really these compelling stories. Apparently, a lot of the compelling stories are really sad, which is fine, because some of these guys, football is their way out of their situation. And so God bless them in their new careers. But the other thing was that there were some guys who just came from mom, dad, sister, brother, just real, nothing super exciting about their family other than they, come from a two-parent household or just have really, I don't want to say normal, but there's nothing what the media would say super exciting about their story. And they really apparently didn't show very many of them, or there was a perception from the folks that were viewing it that wasn't what they wanted to show. If it was a story of an athlete, and I'm going to assume Black athletes, then it had to be this horrible, terrible story about them being homeless or their mom dying or whatever. Yeah. So those stories need to be told, but I think there should be some balance. So that was based on my looking through social media. That was probably one of the worst relative to into the NFL draft.
And I'm just looking forward to getting beyond. I'm a huge sports fan. I love basketball. I actually love hockey as well. I used to work for the hockey team. But certainly football is a big part of my life, being from Florida. But I'm just looking forward to just reinstating all of our sports, and having that as an outlet on any given Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon.
Well, look, it's April. FAMU's homecoming is in October. I'm gonna need them to figure this whole social distancing thing out,
because we gotta go to homecoming.
I've already booked our room for FAMU's homecoming. I missed it last year because I had tried. It's on my calendar. Do not schedule anything during this time because I'm going to homecoming this year. So y'all need to figure this whole coronavirus mask social distancing thing out because I want to go.
All right. Our final category as we go out is people. We want to acknowledge some outstanding people. First and foremost, all of the folks on the front line, our healthcare workers and first responders who are really, literally putting their lives in danger by supporting our community. So big shout out obviously goes out for them. We've seen very heroic deeds from them. My other frat brother Luke chimed in and mentioned James Winston and Thaddeus or Titus, coming together to do a huge donation to the Bay Area community, Metropolitan Ministries. Yep. So we have absolutely seen some people kind of at their best over the course
during
during this space as well. So we certainly want to acknowledge them as well.
For sure. So my best would be, aside from Jameis Winston and Thaddeus Bullard for their donations to Metropolitan Ministries, and Thaddeus specifically with all the things that he's doing over at Sly Middle School. I think that he's the best. They are the best of the best, as my husband just said, on a local level. But one of the best of the best to me in this April space has been that mayor named Keisha. I wonder, did she like that name? Because people call it a mayor named Keisha. But anyway, Keisha Lance Bottoms, who is the mayor of Atlanta.
She's awesome. We had a chance to meet her a couple years ago.
Yeah, so she, in terms of the way, so y'all know Georgia is open. I hope people in Georgia who are watching are at home. So the governor made this decision to reopen Georgia on yesterday. Barbershops, salons, bowling alleys, nail salons, masseuses. And the mayor, to her credit, was extremely diplomatic in her response when questioned about, what are we doing and why is it happening? Because Atlanta, I don't know if it's a hotbed, but Albany for sure. Georgia is a hotbed. And she, in her face, was kind of like, y'all need to stay home. I get it. He's a governor. I'm not recommending that y'all, right? I'm not recommending that you all go back out. And I think, to me, being the mayor of a Black city, when this virus is attacking and killing us for a variety of reasons, probably primarily because we have a lot of underlying health conditions, but Atlanta's a Black city. And so for the mayor of that city, I don't want to say defiant, but just cautioning people and really stressing to folks that they needed to stay home, in the face of a text message that she got from a resident of presumably Atlanta that said, use the N-word.
Oh, wow.
In the text message. So she gets the shout for me in terms of the best of the people.
And as we exit, the worst people who protest that you don't want to stay home, and you're out there. And here's the thing: you're gathered in large audiences protesting with masks on because you don't want to catch, but you're just mad because the economy is shut down. What is wrong with you people?
As I posted on my social media page yesterday, I finally realized why these folks were upset. They have never had the government unabashedly and unapologetically trample on their rights and tell them to stay their tails home.
Yes.
Black folks are like, this is just another day for us, just another day. So yeah, there was one where the guy was coughing all over the reporter, was talking to the reporter with his mask on, says he was going out, he had an underlying health condition, and at the end of the interview, he started coughing. So yeah, so they're the worst. And the worst of the worst for me, as I kind of already mentioned it, is the governor of Georgia. There's no reason for him to have opened. And then his boy, Trump, up in so anyway.
Listen, when the tanning salons and the country clubs, when they start to open back up, then maybe we can consider going back to support those businesses. In the meantime, folks, please be careful. Please take this seriously. Prayers out to my uncle, my one and only. We thank y'all for tuning in. We thank you for watching us. We'll be back next Saturday with a brand new show, brand new topic. Again, we thank you for joining us. It's so fun for sure.
See you later.
Party space. Can't wait to see her face.
Wherever we go, we are about to bring on the positive vibes. Wherever we go, we are gonna do what makes us feel right.
Excuse me for being tardy, especially for this type of party. I was hardly trying to be late.
Yeah, but you were still late.
This record as frequently as possible. Then,
All right. So do we want to go